Welcome back to the show. Now let's get interactive. You can join with your comments via our social media handles. We are live on X Spaces, we are live on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course, myjoyonline.com. This afternoon, police and military deployment is underway in parts of the country where illegal mining activities have led to destruction of water bodies and forest, reserves. The situation has significant implications for the health of Ghanaians, as Ghana Water Company says it is struggling to produce adequate water due to pollution of the water bodies. The committee, headed by the National Security Minister Albert Kandapa, will seek to clamp down on those destroying the environment. So how did this committee come to be, and what should we expect of them? We've put together this to illustrate the point. And so this afternoon, we are joined in the studio by professionals from the built environment, made up of 5 professional bodies, and they are demanding action on illegal mining, also known as Galamsey. And also joining us shortly will be the Regional Minister for the Eastern Region, Seth Acheampong. Plus, we hear organized labor if these actions meet their demands. So let me bring in my guest as we sit down to discuss the matters on hand. Percy Bukari is President, Ghana Institute of Planning. Percy, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Also, it's Engineer Ludwig Hesse, President-elect, Institute of Engineering Technology. You're welcome, sir.
Institution of Engineering.
Yes, Institute of Engineering.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll also be joined by Seth Acheampong. He is the Eastern Regional Minister, one of the regions identified to spearhead this new government approach to dealing with illegal mining. And also Abraham Kumsem, a Secretary General, Ghana Federation of Labour, and Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, convener for the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. So these are the gentlemen who've joined in the studio for us to have this discussion. So let me start with Percy, and of course, Mr. Hesse is also in the studio with me. So Percy, everybody is calling for one thing: temporary ban on illegal mining, declaration of state of emergency around the water bodies, and then other issues that will help sanitize the system. We are not getting it, at least from government pronouncements so far. From where you sit, from your perspective, what really is going wrong, and to what extent is they destroying the environment?
All right, thank you very much. I would thank you for this opportunity, and we also want to thank the viewers. Okay, so for us at the Institute, of course, there are a lot of things happening within the airspace when it comes to the issue of Galamsey. Everyone is coming from different perspectives. But for us at the built environment professional groups, what we see is that this call for the temporary ban and declaring state of emergency, I think is long overdue. Because since this happened, somewhere last 5 years, we started a call. Somewhere last year, we started a call. There was a press release that we insisted on a number of things like this. I think because we are entering into the electioneering period, the calls have come up quite more vigorously. And this is the case because, personally, I've been to a number of sites, that's a Galamsey site, across the country based on the work that we've done. Apart from just 2 regions, Greater Accra and to some extent maybe Volta region, yes. There's Galamsey almost everywhere in Ghana.
Yes.
Yes, and I've seen sites that the devastation has been very enormous. If I say the devastation, I mean not these people with small excavators and then excavating some few areas, but you have huge machines. I'm a tall person, right. And these machines are about 4 or 5 times my height, and they can move from a place like here at Kokromemle through the Kojo Thompson Road or the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue down to the CBD of Accra, and it clears everything on its way. These areas, some are unencumbered meaning protected forest, and some are encumbered areas, that is areas that people have used for their farms, i.e. maybe food crops and then cocoa, cash crops, palm and all that. And the devastation is so huge that when they do this, because most of the water bodies take their watersheds from these protected areas, then they use some banned chemicals,
right.
Mercury and the rest, and it washes these Galamsey, I mean these gold that they are prospecting and all that, it washes them to the nearby water bodies, and they all move straight into the water bodies that we find. So, for instance, if you see Ankobra at the far west, it's quite, an eyesore.
Right.
Just around because so you see what's happening on the Pra is something else. Just here at Weja, you see what is happening on the Densu is something else. So the devastation is so huge, and we have a number of pointers. The implication is so dire to us.
But before we get to the pointers, I mean, how does it affect planning?
Yes, thank you very much. Planning is about making where we live functional. Where we live functional meaning, Elton Abibrobe, you got up this morning, definitely after taking your bath and everything, the water from your bath and all that went to maybe a sock away somewhere.
Right.
Yes, and then from there, you need to move out of the house. The movement from the house through the transportation systems to your workplace and everything you do on its way, it depends on the arrangement that we have on the surface of the spatial systems. And it is making the system functional.
Right.
Now, first, the land that your building is on must be planned. The area that you are must be planned. And certainly, whilst you move, the transportation must also be planned. It must be planned in such a way that your movements are functional in a way that they are in sync with each other. So for planning, we ensure that whatever that a group of people need or society need to make them functional, everything works. So in planning, we think about the various amenities, where you sleep, housing, where transportation, water for a number of things, either for industrial or for household use. We also think about even the spread, economic activities that are going on. And you know, water is raw material to a lot of other industrial products. So for planning, we want to make a place thrive. We want to make a place functional. And not getting water, you also getting the system polluted. So that's why we call something, maybe we will get the climate change and all that. Whatever happens somewhere affects everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so definitely the air that you breathe, the quality of air that you breathe is very, very, very important. We have carbon footprints and all that. Okay. So all these things have direct impacts
on our lives.
Yes, on our lives.
Let me bring in Mr. Hesse. Mr. Hesse, so from the engineering point of view, give me your preliminary comments before we get into the nitty-gritty of the issues. And I will also bring in Dr. Ken Asigbe, who joins us via Zoom, to tell us, the development that we are hearing this afternoon, what do you make of it?
Well, mining is engineering. All the activities of mining is basically engineering. And it has to be done in a sustainable way. It has to be done in a way that is friendly to the environment. It has to be done in a way that does not hurt us as human beings. You asked about planning. And when you leave ecosystems, the ecosystem is part of the planning. That's why forest reserves are left, so that we enhance the balance of carbon and oxygen in our environment. And so if there's wanton destruction of the forest reserve, we are killing ourselves. We are destroying the ecosystem. Water, production of water is engineering. Distribution of water is engineering. If the source of the water is not good enough, then what are we doing? We cannot get good water. So for us, this comes right into our area of engagement, because all the sustainable ways of mining is taught in engineering. And it's engineers who manage these systems. And now you are getting people who are not professionals, they are not guided by anybody, and they go into the field and do wanton destruction, as if we don't know what we are about in this country.
And obviously without recourse to planning.
Without recourse to planning, without recourse to regulation, without recourse to any engineering, without recourse to anything at all. They just go in and do wanton destructions, and we sit and watch. And we have a government that have been put in place, and we've given them our sovereignty, our power to enforce and make sure that we keep the ecosystem balanced. And the government fails to act.
That's bad. Let me bring in Dr. Ken Asigbe. Dr. Ken Asigbe, good afternoon, welcome to. So, everybody is talking now. I'm yet to come across any organized group that is not talking, what is the position regarding illegal mining. Now, over the weekend, I heard Professor Sampene say, he made a point quite forcefully that if nothing is done now, we are likely to get to a place where even reproduction will become an issue because it is affecting the sperms of, the men. The women are giving birth to people or to children, we cannot even call them human beings because they are half human beings, half something else.
Wow.
Now, this morning, we got to understand that the deployment is already started. There is the deployment of river gas. There's the police to start with. If they are unable to deal with the matter, the military will follow. This is government response. I don't know what your position is regarding what we are learning this afternoon.
Much. We've seen a story of one arrest being made. I will just ask Joy FM and Joy News, and ask everybody. We should get people to send us information of the areas they are in. Are the Chamfans still on the water bodies? What is the turbidity that we're getting? We have 37 forest reserves that have been invaded. And if you have only one, movement being done, well, it's a beginning, but it's a step too small. When you are in a crisis and you are hemorrhaging like we are hemorrhaging, we need a concerted effort, and I think that this is rather a small effort. And so you notice that in our ask, we were asking for a state of emergency over the water bodies, the sites of the buffers of the water bodies, and then in the forest reserves. If you based on the challenges that are confronting us, this is really not as forceful as you would want to see it to be able to enable that happens. But maybe we should acknowledge that has happened. And again, I'm not too sure the strength of the water guards, their ability to be able to go into these water bodies. And one of the solutions to the problem is that you need to go into the water bodies. You need to tow the platform itself. The Chamfans, they are built on some very heavy platforms. You need to tow those platforms from the water bodies. You need to then get a vehicle that has a crane on it that can move it out of the water bodies, and then you take them out of that. If you don't do that, you just attempt to bend it, they will come back and then move it somewhere and go and build on it. By now, we should also be seeing movement in the community so that you can deal with the welding companies that are building this, the vehicles that are moving it. By now, in all of those areas, the police checkpoints should be arresting anybody that is moving any of this. So the effort that we need to see because of the genocidal nature of the crisis that we are in, I am not too sure that the effort we are seeing is, commensurate with the crisis that currently is confronting us.
So, you've always made a point that government appear not to appreciate the enormity of the situation that we are in. In view of government response to this, intense call on them to do something about it, do you get a point that I do still maintain the fact that the response is not as serious as, it ought to be?
You remember that when we got into COVID, we had His Excellency the President addresses. Unfortunately, you have water in some of our water treatment plants getting turbidities as high as 14,000 NTUs and higher. The deaths that we were recording. You talked about Prof. Sampeni's, assertions,
right?
And that that you would find if you go, some of them are in jars that you can see. And with the enormity of the challenges that are confronting us, and the groundswell from the entire country, I'm not too sure that our response is commensurate with the enormity. So we will be expecting a lot more to be happening than currently that we are seeing. We need to ensure that this country responds adequately, and it's also a challenge that as at this time we've not heard as forcefully from those who are seeking to rule us.
Exactly.
We've not heard, the vice president, the presidential candidate of the MPP. We've not heard the former president, the candidate of the NDC. We've not heard other presidential candidates speak as forcefully as you have heard my senior engineer and then my colleague, the president of the planners in the studio, and our religious leaders, the Otumfo, various bodies, over 50 bodies who have the pain that people are speaking. We're not seeing that coming from the state, and then also from our political parties who are seeking to rule us. And that is something that we will urge them to do. There are letters that we are sending as the Media Coalition on behalf of the other coalitions that we are partnering with, asking for engagement with the MPP and the NDC presidential candidates, so we can get them openly declare that they support the government's crisis response, because we don't want anybody, any of the political parties, sitting in Accra and telling us, fight Galamsey, you are not fighting it. And then they will go and sit in some pit somewhere and then be saying something else. So we would want to get that declaration from all of them as forcefully as possible. Our expectation is that in any of their political conversations now that they do, they should be talking about the fact that they stand against these criminals who are destroying our environment and wanting to kill us and poisoning us and all of that. And they stand against that. As we deal with the crisis, then we can come back, and then once we have done, find ways in which we can do this sustainably.
We will soon be joined by the Eastern Regional Minister, because his region is among those that the focus is on. The 5 regional government has identified and directed the regional ministers to lead this swoop. We'll be speaking to the regional minister shortly. But Dr. Asbe, when we hear the CEO of the Minerals Commission say that the call for a temporary ban may be unfair to those who are undertaking, safe mining, if you like. People have drilled shafts, they are doing mining underground, they are not contaminating the water in any way. So to undertake a blanket ban will be unfair to such people. What response will you give to the CEO?
Again, so you need to look again at even labor itself, the statement of labor. Labor, in their first statement, they talk about the fact that there should be a halt to mining in whatever form, legal or illegal, on the water bodies and in the forest reserves. The Media Coalition's ask is also that a state of emergency over our water bodies, forest reserves, and the buffers. The water bodies, the water bodies themselves and the buffers, it is illegal to mine there. So you can't even ban it because it's illegal already. It is in the forest reserve that we're also saying that it should halt, and then there should be a state of emergency over it, and there should be a revocation of LI 2462. Because a lot of our water bodies that have gotten turbidity up to 14,000 take their sources from these water forest reserves.
Right.
And again, you need to bear in mind that Akunta mine that was in the Tano Nimri Forest Reserve, that the minister pointed out as being involved in an illegality. It's not a small-scale mining company. Heritage, they were involved in an illegality. Heritage Imperial, who are a large-scale mining company that were given prospecting licenses, but had gone into the Apraprama Forest Reserve with excavators and were engaged in an illegality that they even stated in court, in their court document, that they had mining operations. It's not a small-scale mining firm. There is no small-scale mining firm that has been given a license to go into the forest reserve. So the illegality has nothing to do with scale. So any small scale miner who is not mining on the water bodies, that is not mining close to the buffer, and is doing his properly regulated work, it's not part of what we are asking that should cease.
Right.
So we are asking that on the water bodies, on the buffers, in the forest reserves, that mining should cease there. We should arrest people on the water bodies in the buffers and make sure that we seize the mining in the forest reserve, revoke any licenses that have been given for people mining in the forest reserve, and then also revoke LI 2462. So yeah, I agree that if there's a small scale miner mining sustainably and has nothing to do with what is happening, that the call is not about them.
Right.
The call is not about them. The call is about our water bodies. The call is our buffers, and then in the forest reserves.
All right, Dr. Kenashigbe, hold it there for me. Let me bring in the Eastern Regional Minister, the former Member of Parliament from Prairie in the Eastern Region, and now Regional Minister for the Eastern Region, Seth Acheampong. Honorable Seth Acheampong, you're welcome to the pause here on Joy News.
Thank you very much, Elton. How are you?
I'm doing great. And last week, when the Lands and Natural Resources Minister announced the decision of the president after a national security meeting, he said regional ministers, including yourself, you've been tasked to undertake swoops using the police and, if necessary, the military, and if necessary, decommission mining equipment. Has this started?
Thank you very much, Elton. I need to make some clarity here. That multi-sectoral approach in the Galamsey fight is something which is ongoing that we do regularly. However, last week's meeting was to give us more insight as to the level at which we have to raise our regular monitoring. You and I believe, and I would not deny that, the season we're in is very sensitive to where I sit. I'm a politician and very, very sensitive to that. However, after the voices spoke, and that is the voices of Ghana, His Excellency the President put together the ad hoc committee. And let me make some clarity. The ad hoc committee is not about us setting up a new body to monitor or engage in the illegal mining operations that we are doing with a multi-sectoral approach. The ad hoc committee is to engage the voices like my senior brother, Dr. Kenashigbe, and who are already in the media coalition, and other bodies that are speaking. It is useful in this enterprise that we are in to give hearing to the people you are governing with. And so government set up that committee to ensure that the clergy who are also adding their voice and the numerous state bodies that are speaking should be engaged. So this intersectoral ad hoc committee
I'm guessing we having connections issues with the Eastern Regional Minister, Seth Acheampong. We'll try and reestablish connection with him, and then we can bring him back on. Yeah. So Honorable, please go ahead. We lost you briefly.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Am I clear now?
Yes, you are clear.
Am I still audible? Is it clear?
Yes. Please go on.
Thank you. So, like I said, our regular multi-sectoral approach where we have our EPA, Minerals Commission, Police Service, Water Resources Commission, the military, in our instance in the region, is the 1BN from Michelle Camp, who have a detachment with us in Koforidua. They are the ones that we, with our task force in the region, operate and work with. But like I said, the ad hoc committee that His Excellency the President set up is to engage bodies like my senior brother, Engineer Dr. Kenashigbe, and other faith-based institutions, and our numerous voices speaking on the recent surge of the brutalities are people who believe that all they can do is to go for extractive minerals from the earth, destroying and devastating our water bodies, and trying to destroy our forest cover as well. These are people that we've been battling and we keep battling.
But as regional minister, you had your own marching orders, and that is to undertake swoops. I don't know whether that is already underway.
Elton, at the end of the day, we have that operation going on. In my region, it is not just only water bodies and forest cover. Sand winning is another terrible matter I fight daily in my region. And that is equally devastating the environment. And we've been doing this regularly. And that's what I do with my MUSEX and my DISEX. And so that is already ongoing. And we are deepening our oversight responsibility in that sector.
So are you using police and military or just the police? Because the communique was quite clear as to the security agents to use and in what circumstances you can bring in the others.
So like I said earlier, the Regional Security Council has a task force, and that comes up with all members of the Regional Security Council. And that task force consists of police, consists of immigration service, consists of the military and the Ghana Police Service and the NID, because intelligence gathering is very important. And so this is the bodies we are using to manage the situation in the region now.
And Honorable, what are their instructions to arrest, seize, and destroy, or what?
As a matter of fact, we are to clear people off our water bodies, seize any machine that is on the water bodies, and in the forest reserves, we have to clear everybody we find in there. We are doing them, and that is what we're doing.
And so far, what can you report regarding that exercise?
So as we speak, we went into the Kwabi Brim area where we've had issues in recent times, and the water bodies, we deployed our men. We have 3 police regional commands in our region. So we took men from the Southern Command and then our detachment from Koforidua and some of our immigration men on that operation. I will be honest with you, we are not speaking too much about our tactics because people are already upbeat and knowing how we did it 3 years ago. We will want to keep most of our operations under our sleeves and surprise them.
But do you trust the integrity of this security personnel that you are deploying? Because in recent times, they've been accused of actually benefiting from what they've been asked to stop.
Trust is a matter that you and I appreciate very well. Even your profession, which is supposed to be the ones that acts as the fourth estate of the realm, are many a times accused of trust issues. But we believe that the people we put on ground will do nothing but what we've instructed them to do. Reasons are simple. It's a command service. And we sit with their commanders and give them what we expect of them before we push them out. My only concern is that in this circumstance, we are going to work hard and not entertain any form of other backroom conversations, because this is what we're doing and we've been doing it all along. And it is prudent that a commitment comes from all of us as a people. As we go and destroy people's equipment, we don't expect some bodies to come and stand up and say that we are living in turbulent times in respect of the economy, and we have turned a blind eye on that and are destroying people's equipment. When it happens this way, it's a challenge for leadership But we are going to do what we have to do, and that's exactly what we are here for.
You are a regional minister and also a political head. Are you also worried about the implications this may have on the political fortunes of your party? You know very well that we are just a few months away from the national elections.
I will not deny that, Elton. I'm a political animal, first and foremost, but a Ghanaian born and bred here, and I believe and love my country. And I think that we all must put our hands on the wheel and ensure and save for everybody. Most of the people we've been arresting on the water bodies are not even Ghanaians, but we have endorsed the ECOWAS protocol. And so some of our sovereignty is a bit weakened and loosened in that respect. So this is some of the issues that we fight daily here.
But and before I let you go, how devastating is this menace in your region? Because your region is one of, the brim has been compromised in a way. But how devastating is activities of illegal mining in the eastern region as a whole?
I must admit that we have been inundated with a lot more people who are not from our country. And our battle has been repatriating them. In recent times, when you arrest them, we don't have so much space in our prisons to incarcerate them. So we liaise with the Ghana Immigration Service and their missions in country to help repatriate them. They also do not demonstrate commitment. It makes it a bit frustrating. So we are forced to incarcerate them. I know in no time they would commence accusations that we have an overcrowded prison service, and we are doing nothing about it. But that is the only way we can go, because the Attorney General's office have set up special courts for us where we have expeditious delivery of justice for us. So with the support of the Attorney General's office here, who are very dedicated with the Chief State Attorney here, expeditious delivery of service on that area is also helping us.
All right. And finally, are there timelines when you hope to end this, or this exercise will be ongoing until there is finality to this matter?
Elton, like I said, this is a matter, that is why His Excellency, in his wisdom, set up the ad hoc committee to engage with the various bodies who in recent times are speaking. This is a matter that we are battling on multi-sectoral approach, and it's a canker. It is not a time for me to call for a national furor because of where we are. But it is prudent that anybody listening to me must appreciate that it is not easy for any person of my political tradition to manage what we see here today. That is not what we wished to do. That's not what we wished for. But in leadership, when matters come up this way, you rise up to the occasion.
All right. Let me appreciate your time this afternoon. Ms. Honorable Seth Acheampong is the Eastern Regional Minister. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon here. And again, he made reference to the committee that was set up by President Akufo-Addo last Friday. And the committee's work is to look at what is ongoing. So information we are picking is that the committee wants to get a brief on government efforts so far, take inputs from them, make recommendations to the government. And this is exactly what they will be doing from tomorrow. Dr. Ashigbe, if you are still there and you want to pass a comment so that I can come to my guests in the studio on what you've heard so far.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks to my brother, the Honorable Regional Minister. Well, we are in very difficult time. We are not in ordinary times, and I can understand the point he makes about the time close to an election. But where we are at, where our very lives is what is at risk, it is the reason why for the Media Coalition, we are asking that we need a national consensus on a national consensus on the way to deal with this crises that confront us. And we all need to come together to fight it. But action is required. And, we would want to be able to see the result of some of the things that have to happen. I am still seeing that the government is reluctant to activate Article 31 to be able to impose a state of emergency in parts of the country. We're not asking for a state of emergency in all of the country. It's a state of emergency over these water bodies, a state of emergency in these forest reserves, so that as the Honorable Minister was talking about, expeditious trials and all of that, we can get an example of what happened in the UK, for example, when these attacks, xenophobic attacks were happening. The minister talks about expeditious trials, but we had the AG tell us that about 70-something people have been prosecuted, 850 people are
in court.
Are in court, but we don't see the speed. So it would be important for us to be able to get the results on a daily basis, who has been tried, who is being jailed. And in the same breath as well, it will be interesting to get the regional minister should have told us, entities like Akonta Mining, that we have petitioned the IGP, we've petitioned the AG on it and all of that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources pointed out that they were involved in illegality. When are we going to see those cases go to court? Examples of Heritage Imperial. There's a situation that we're currently dealing with in the Elembele area where the EPA has given a desist order, but there's a company called SDSD that is mining a river that as early as 24th of March this year was pristine. And today, if you see the quality of it, and it's because this company has gone mining there, and the EPA has issued a desist order that they are flouting. But my problem is this, is that if you have a company like that, in mining in places that they ought not to mine, and they are destroying water bodies, it's not desist orders that we should be getting from the EPA. There should be an arrest that should be made, because it's an illegal activity. And so you would want that at this particular time, where we are in this, and the government says that it's acting, we are not seeing the toughness that are required. You would want to expect that things like this, the arrest would be immediate, and we would start counting the number of chamfans that have been retrieved from the water on a daily basis. The same way that His Excellency the President was giving us regular briefings during the COVID era. In the same time where we are under a genocidal attack, we'll be hoping that we will be getting constant reportage that these areas, this is what has happened. These are the people who have been arrested. These are the people who went to court today. They've been given the maximum sentence or the minimum sentence under the Minerals and Mining Act as amended.
And it's actually, Doctor, it's actually interesting that some foreign nationals who are arrested and taken to court sometime for the fact that we don't have interpreters, they are let go.
Exactly. By this time, we should be hearing the Chief Justice tell us that he's fixed the problem of the lack of interpreters. Again, today, those two Chinese that were taken to court, and we got the state attorney or the prosecutor come to wanting to hoodwink the judge, that they had died and they had been cremated. And he had to take a judge who is a patriotic person to ask for the ashes. That case was supposed to go back to court today. It is important that you journalists try and get us the details of what is happening to that particular case. And
Absolutely.
that particular prosecutor as well. What is happening to that particular prosecutor?
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ken Ashigbe, for your time this afternoon. I understand that the Seth Acheampong is still on the line with me. Want to react to some few things before you go. Honorable Regional Minister, you are back, so you have some reaction?
No, certainly. I was listening to Ken, and
okay.
This is the work of citizens, and this is not the only time Ken has been speaking about issues concerning our environment. I know as an engineer, he has a lot of passion when it comes to our environment, both for our spatial planning and how we do our development in our communities. But like we're saying, normally you don't get some of these news as good news. A lot is happening in our courts. A lot more people are being jailed. A lot more people are being incarcerated. But I don't think most of the time we captured, except the top ones who have some flags on them that people want to know. Maybe Aisha One and co. People are ready to report on them. But there are many cases that have been decided. And that's why I stated what the judiciary has done to assist us in having expeditious delivery and trials. Because if we don't get to them, the police service can only assist us in putting them before the law courts. By law, they are the prosecutors who raises all these criminal charges for us. And then you have the Attorney General's Department supports them in courts in managing the cases.
Right.
And so it is a major concern that we fight daily. And I believe that we should all be talking this way. And that's why, and let me emphasize again, that's why I'm happy for the ad hoc committees set up. It is to engage with bodies like this and then express what government is doing so far so people can really know and understand. Because without such information, without such engagement, we'll still keep on running around.
All right, Honorable Senator Champon, thank you very much. He is the Eastern Regional Minister. Let me come to Percy and, of course, Mr. Hersey. So let me start with you, Percy. You have some points. You heard the Regional Minister. I don't know whether his response give you confidence that for at least for the fifth or the sixth or the third time, we'll get it right this time. And you've got some demands you want to make yourself.
Yes, I know the minister so well. Last time when I was made the president in Koforidua, he came to grace the occasion, and I like his passion for the work he's doing. He has mentioned a number of things. I will just take the concluding statements. A lot more arrests have been made. A lot more people are in court. A lot more people have been incarcerated. And the situation is still like this.
In fact,
even more than this.
I mean, the funniest of them all is the story that Dr. Kenneth brought up, that a court in the Western region, 5 illegal miners, foreign nationals, were taken to the court. The next day, they didn't show up. The judge inquired from the prosecutor, where are the illegal miners? The response was that all of them died and they've been incriminated. And then the judge demanded that then you bring me the death certificate and everything. We're still waiting for that to happen.
Yes, so just to make this point loud and clear, maybe they've not taken a survey of the system. The public, the general public, do not trust what is happening. The general public does not trust what is happening. This committee set up on Friday, what they are doing and all that. Major Mahama was killed because of this. This call has been there for quite a long time. So the public doesn't trust this. My own Ghana Institute of Planning, when we're putting all this thing up, they were just calls coming in that, oh, this would amount to nothing. Everything is, they are handling this thing in a very poor way. But just for us to stay, on course, we think that the impact, for us in planning, we do things in a logical way. So the impact of good things being done must be seen. If we put in all these measures and we still see the escalating nature of the Galamsey and how people are doing this, and just around his own area, when you get to the Osino Junction, where most people know as Lindador, Osino, Insutem, Esiakwa, Enyinem, going up to Nkoko, that whole stretch is just a crime scene. It's crime scene. The videos are rolling. And
they're actually getting closer to the main road.
Yes, I'm saying they are getting closer to the main road. That's why people have seen now. But for us, we have used drones. We've used photo imageries. We've seen this. 2 years ago, we did a presentation on this. So it means the thing is going on. They said they do regular monitoring and all that. I mean, they do it. But this is where we are with all the monitoring. Last Thursday, you heard the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Yes. I mean, Honorable Mrekuduka, you heard him. You heard the Minister himself. It was an apology of, I mean, you saw the banter with the TUC.
The Deputy Secretary General.
And it's just funny. But where we are now, if we know the enormosity of the issue, I think our actions should be more than this. But just to also, because I mean, this is our system and they are in government and we just want them to do the right thing, what we can say is that we have some demands.
Okay.
Among all these demands is that we should declare a state of emergency on this. we should own in some selected areas. We cannot say people are mining in forest reserves, people are mining in protected areas, and we are sitting and saying that, oh, we are going to monitor them. No, that shouldn't be it.
But it doesn't look like you are going to get this demand.
It doesn't look, but at a point in time, it was not so clear whether we would get a demand that the hotels shouldn't be sold. But just after some few things, this whole system has changed. Just within 2 days, all labor unions strike. And immediately on Monday, the whole thing was seized.
Right.
I think something can be done. We are duty bearers. If we don't speak on this, the future generations will never forgive us. The future generation will never forgive us. And we need to speak on this. And it must be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when people are dying, when the prevalence rate or the life expectancy rate, that is around 55 now, around 46, comes down to about 40, and you go to the renal unit of Kolebu and most of this, you see 15 years, 20-year people having strokes and then, cancers and all that. When these things come up, you know that once upon a time, we stood for this, but nothing was done. So what we are calling for is that, one, we should declare a state of emergency. We should halt all, mining activities. You know, what we said was that if you know the enormity of the issue, you don't do the same things and have different results. Yes, so we need to see this as a big problem. Where we sit, we are not very comfortable because from officialdom, the feedback coming is not as vociferous as the issue that is at stake. So we would want more to be done, and that for our aquatic life, today you've eaten.
Of course.
Good. The tomato that you used, you have no idea where it was produced. The water, you may be using bottled water. Are you aware we import water into this country?
Yes.
We may be looking at the bottled water. So as for me, I'm not drinking from
sachet water or any other water.
Sachet and all that. But somebody is processing it. But the raw material is water. The heavy metals in them, you have no idea. You have no idea. So there's a direct link between some of these things and what we are talking about. But just that we as professional bodies, at times we don't want to go and veer off into what the general public. We want to stay focused on our professional lines so that we can educate the public in a more professional way so that they can take the right decisions.
Let me allow Mr. Hesse to come in. So from engineering, what are you also demanding?
No, the same as everybody is demanding. I don't think we are very different. The minister spoke. We are all Presbyterians. Musro, if he's there.
I think he's gone. I think he's gone.
And yesterday, the youth in our church, they were read to church. They say, stop Galamsey. Our moderator has written a communique on this. That should have been read in all congregations yesterday, standing against Galamsey. It's not just professionals and who are speaking. It's everybody. Yesterday in church, Manosofo, intercessory prayer, he prayed for 15 minutes on this. Speaking about it, somebody had to go and stop him. That was going on too much.
Yeah, in fact, they did the same thing 2 years ago, and we are still where we are.
So if you listen to the minister, he says, so this is what we've been doing. There's a process in place already, and we are doing these things. So it's business as usual. And that business has not yielded any results. And we have a multi-sectorial thing happening, and we are doing it. And when the president gave that instruction last week, did he add resources to it for them? Because if you're going to
the call was that they use local resources.
But they don't have the local resources. There's district assemblies. We take money out of them and we buy things centrally and give to them. There's no money in the district assemblies. There's no money. There's no resources. Those of us who have worked in government before. There's no resources in the regional administrations. What do they have?
In fact, the regional administration is one of the most poorly resourced.
Yes, they don't have anything. So if you tell them that they should lead the fight, you should say, don't do anything. The only way you can see a difference is that central government, who sits on all the resources, says, we are not going to do A, B, C, and D. We are taking that money from the central government and mobilizing the soldiers and taking them to the field and getting them to do. Yeah. 7 years ago, when Nanado promised that he was going to stop Galamsey, he mobilized. they stopped. The water turbidity came down. It was when the people who were enforcing got compromised. That's when we went back to square one. So
the government commitment has always been there.
It's a commitment. If the government mobilized the same way they mobilized in 2017, was it?
Yes, 2017, when he put his presidency on the
Yes,
line.
2017, if they mobilized in the same way and sustain it, what did he do? He banned everything for 2 years or so. And then everything went fine. Everything was improving. Then we compromised ourselves. Now, it's a system. When you start enforcing, you don't stop. The system should be held on. And then other things come in. The other things that we appear to be doing, strengthening regulatory enforcement, initiating environmental restoration, they are all things we should be doing. But as we sit today, we are back to square one, where we were in 2017. And the methods we applied in 2017 should be applied again, and even more stringently, so that we can move forward on this fight. So that when we start doing the other things, alongside the strong enforcement, we will succeed. But your borderline is being attacked. People have insurged into your country. Then you say, oh, I have a regional minister there. Let him try to do it, and if it's not successful, I'll send the army in. When the people are already in, when the boundary is broken, and then you say they should go. No. But I don't think we are doing enough.
For engineering and planning, let me take you to your professional background. And I mean, it's not by accident that mining companies will employ competent professionals to undertake mining activity. Right? Here's the case: we have people who I mean, they have no background in these professional. So planning is compromised, engineering is compromised. Yes. Now we have our lands destroyed to the extent that some say that it will take 1,000 years for the heavy metals in the water body to go away. So in the circumstances where we have non-professionals, re-engineered whatever was put in place years ago, then what kind of future are we leaving behind going forward? Let me start with you, Mr. Hesse, and I'll go to Percy.
No, well, it's very dire. It's very dire. I'm a student service teacher, and I worry when I go to church and look at the children. Seriously speaking, we are mortgaging the future of our children and grandchildren. I'm not going to have any more children. When you spoke about sperms and things like that, probably not mine, but probably my sons. They are yet to marry, and you don't know what will happen to them. And so it's very, very important that we allow life in our country to be approached in a very systematic way, in a very professional way. There are all sorts of professionals who are involved in our day-to-day lives. And if we allow them and give them the room to operate professionally, we'll go somewhere. We are in the situation where we have allowed the politics of the day to take over our lives. So we in the professional fields have been comatose. And we are not able to do what we have been trained to do because we have allowed the politicians to take the ground, and they are just sharing things among themselves. And it's not good enough. We should ban on water bodies. We should make sure that nobody is within the buffer zones. We should take everybody out of the forest reserves. It doesn't matter whether the person is licensed or not. We should take them completely out of the forest reserves and deal with the ones we see by the roadside. These are the things we are asking for. We need to act now.
Before we do that, before Percy comes in, just a quick, let me go on Zoom for just a few minutes. Andy Apiakubi is a member of parliament and he joins me via Zoom. He has some concerns regarding activities of illegal mining in his constituency. Honorable Apiakubi, you're welcome to the poll. So what is the story in your constituency?
Thank you very much, my brother. In my constituency, there is zero tolerance for galamsey. And I mean, the whole community that fights against anybody who makes the attempt. My good self, my MCE, my traditional authorities, and the general community, the people who made attempts to come, we sacked them overnight and they couldn't even locate. Those who built camps hoping to come and stay there and do the mining, we sacked them and the camps are now empty. We intend to give them to teachers who want to stay there. So in my community, Asante Ashim North, there is In fact, the way these people operate, if you allow them to locate, it's difficult to find them. So the way to do it is find them when they attempt to come. In our place, we don't respect any license given by anybody. The only reason is that part of the endeavor is legal small-scale mining. Part is illegal mining, which we refer to as galamsey. In our community, we don't have any capacity to differentiate between the two. So myself, my chiefs, my community, MC, all of us came together and said that since we don't understand what is galamsey, what is not galamsey, we will not just allow anybody to come in.
So there's none at all in the Agugu area?
None at all. The two people who came, I saw them, we moved them all out. We seized their equipment and drove them out. In fact, one of them, Nana Kwekusapo himself, called me and gave me the hint that some people were in one part of our community. We went there and, we got them arrested. We sacked them. There was one that came to Jansa and Bamia Bra. We sacked them overnight. The day they came, the next day they moved out. Those who came to Pecheche area, we did not allow them to relocate. So the strategy is that don't allow them to come. In fact, apart from the destruction that we see, they also corrupt the youth in the area. They resort to all kinds of drug abuse and, its consequential crimes. So it is important that the whole community, it takes the whole community to fight galamsey. So we have fought it with everybody in support. So one person cannot fight it. In fact, I even doubt whether the security service people, when they go there, they will also get corrupted.
But Honorable Andy Appiah Kubi, then you should share this strategy with the constituents you share border with, Asante Achem Sam, the Konongo area, because illegal mining has virtually taken over the Konongo town.
What I know is that my good friend, minister, will never sign any certificate for people who locate on our rivers. But so everybody on the waterbeds are doing, all of them are doing galamsey. And in the forest, I don't know, I don't think, and I don't believe that a minister will authorize anybody into the forest areas. So all of them are also in illegal mining. You told me about my adjoining constituencies. They know what I stand for. I have ever even gone to one of the adjoining constituencies to drive away people who were working on the common river that is the source of our drinking water. We went there to drive them away, although it was not in my constituency, but with me and my security personnel in my constituency, we went there to drive them away. So it takes everybody understanding that we won't allow this to happen, and then we can do it. Like I've told you, you can bring whatever certificate in my constituency, it won't work. We will not allow it. But like I'm saying, you have to come to the constituency to investigate yourself and see whether there is any galamsey in my area or whether. But don't take it that there is no deposit there. The deposits are there. Not until we understand how to mine it with environmental concerns covered and the mitigation arrangements done.
I think the connection, yeah, but yes.
Hello. I said
yes,
that we won't allow it because it is the whole community that is rejected.
All right. Thank you so much. But before, just briefly on this matter, your government, Nana Akufo-Addo, has instructed regional ministers to undertake sweeps, so meaning the Ashanti regional minister will lead the exercise in the Ashanti region. There are concerns about the political blowback that you may have going into the elections. How stringent should they be as they enforce this for the very last time, if you like? I think we've lost him. So, Percy, I'll give you the final word as we wrap up this discussion.
Yes, what I'll say is that it appears we are mortgaging our lives for short-term temporal gains. What I mean by this is that people are cashing in big time on this Galamsey, and they do not have any idea the impact that it will have on them and the foreseeable future. What we are saying is that our professionals are in 261 assemblies across the 16 regions of Ghana.
So that means you are represented in every assembly?
Every assembly, every region. So some of this, so if you go, so every space is governed. So you have special plans for all these areas and you need permits for all that. So our eyes are all over the place. And what is happening, we've brought it out and we want the government to take it as seriously as possible.
Right.
The pointers are there. Earlier this year, we gave them areas that we want them to focus in their manifestos. Subsequently, we've gone to assess, we were on GTV together, we're going to assess to what extent they've complied with this in their manifestos and all that. And we will keep looking out for this.
But I also giving, perhaps, same question for the two of you. In your recommendation, I also make a case for, so what then happens to those who will be denied their livelihood for the illegality that we've been doing? Yeah. How do we accommodate them?
Yeah, so you see, when there is a problem, you first halt what is happening because you heard the minister, the MP for his area. They are finding difficult to more or less distinguish between small-scale mining
and illegal mining.
And then illegal mining. And in our write-up, we've distinguished this. Our target is not the small-scale mining. Actually, we've worked on, there are sustainable mining going on across the country. That is not our target. But our target is the illegality and the way people are. Look, people get documentations for Minerals Commission to go to the various places. Who gave them those documentations? Let's track all that. Who are the policemen? Who are the... You see, mining is not an undercover activity.
At all.
Look, I was in Agoresum. I was in Mansour Bore. I was in Mansour Kwanta. Right from Antwa, from Amia Kwanta Road. I took all that stretch. I've seen what is happening firsthand. And it is done. You hear the machines and police, community leaders, chiefs are all aware of what is happening. So once we come on stage here and we speak like this, it means we know what we are talking about. So for us, we think that let's not focus too much on our temporal gains and mortgage our entire life. Once we do that, we'll come back to this stage and then we'll be discussing something else about lives, the way we are dying. Look, this issue is more important than even the COVID-19. It's as worse as COVID. More than COVID-19. But because of the way COVID-19 had a global appeal, that's how come we gave it the necessary action. So we want the same impetus. If you give them responsibilities to the regional ministers, give them resources and give them timelines, give them benchmarks that every week, every day, they should come, reporting. Once we have this set, it will give us some comfort and we will name and shame and also make sure that we see people who are prosecuted. Then we would have our lives back.
The issue about livelihood, alternative livelihood. You are asking that we should halt the exercise. So what then happened to the thousands of people who are depending on this for their livelihood?
If you read the manifestos of the political parties for the elections, and even the paper that we did as Institution of Engineering on Galamsey, they were more focused on the livelihood parts and all those things. We're all getting too comfortable. And if you look at the way we are thinking forward, we've become so comfortable that, let's deal with this as a livelihood issue. And we all were gradually comatose into that.
Right.
And then when I heard 3 weeks ago, from Ghana Water and what was happening, I called my president and I said, look, I think we've all been misled into focusing on livelihood and not focusing on our very existence.
Right.
So we've all been comatose. And if the political parties would do just what they've said in their manifestos, then nothing is going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we all focused on this livelihood thing. But now it's a crime that we are fighting. And when you are fighting, the first question is not how would the thief who are stopping from stealing survive. And that is where we are. That's why the call is for a state of emergency. Because then we can take actions which are draconian, which will affect people, which will make people suffer today. But if it's a thief who is suffering, he should suffer a little bit whilst we find the next steps of helping him out of his misery.
All right.
Our first step should not be to say, let's make sure that he has something to eat before we stop him from destroying what will make him have food to eat.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Ladies, folks, we've been discussing the issue of illegal mining is a matter that won't go away until we have a hand on the devastating it's causing our environment and our water bodies. So you've been listening to Percy Bukari, President, Ghana Institute of Planning, Engineer Ludwig Hesse, President-elect Institution of Engineering. I got it right this time around.